So I wanted to do a video or a couple of videos here for the channel where I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite artists. First one we're going to be talking about here is Aubrey Beardsley, a really awesome artist. I'll show some of their work over here. That passed away in late 1800s. They were 25 years old when they died, and they were one of the people that in my mind have really shaped illustration over the past 100 years or more since their death. He was kind of a prodigy. He had tuberculosis, late 1800s, you have that, you're not gonna live long. And during his life, he really changed the way that people illustrate. This is a book my mom had given to me when I went off to college that she purchased in the 70s. And it is filled with Aubrey Beardsley's artwork and prints. And if we look right here at this guy, he depicts some pretty gnarly stuff. This is from a playbill, I think, one that Oscar Wilde did. But he would do playbills, he did magazines, he did illustrations for books. Very prominent early illustrator. And I've held on to this book since then. There's definitely a lot of stuff in here that I'm not gonna show though. I'm gonna try to keep this video PG. He has a lot of really extreme stuff. If you Google Aubrey Beardsley, you're gonna see a lot of really interesting and crazy artwork. But a little more info about the guy here. He primarily worked in black and white, pen and ink. He probably did some, what do you call it? Metal scratching, printmaking, I forget what that's called, but I'm sure he did some of that as well. But I really see the influence of Aubrey's work in artists that I really like Mike Mignola and Frank Miller. Mike Mignola and Frank Miller, they both utilize contrast in a very similar way that Aubrey Beardsley did. And I can really see that in these drawings that I'm showing here. Not only Mike Mignola, Frank Miller, and countless others, but another one I see his influence in a lot is Yoshitaka Amano. Yoshitaka Amano is really famous for doing Final Fantasy artwork and a bunch of other games as well. While he doesn't use contrast as much as Miller and Mignola do, you can really see the use of like flowing lines and stuff really present in the element or principle of art movement a lot in their pieces. Many of Beardsley's pieces show flowing fabric. You can almost see implied movement in that. You can see that a lot in Yoshitaka Amano's as well. He went to the Westminster School of Art by the time he was age 20 and started training under a really famous artist, and not really famous, Aubrey, eclipses him, but Frederick Brown, a guy I don't know too much about. But he was often hired and commissioned to illustrate books, stuff about King Arthur. I think one of the first ones he did was The Death of King Arthur, or The Death of Arthur. It depicts Merlin, it shows Arthur doing heroic things, dragons, fantasy things along those lines. He even also helped kind of start zine culture. He created the Yellow Book, and it's one of the earliest magazines that was ever specifically dedicated to, I believe, illustration and art. And he helped out with art direction. He made the covers and all this kind of stuff for it. And it was kind of a little underground zine publication scene in the late 1800s, it looks like. But most of his work was done in like a 6-year period leading up to his death, like 1892 to 1898 or so. And he even brushed shoulders with a lot of famous people. Writer, poet Oscar Wilde. He illustrated scenes for Oscar Wilde's play, specifically Salome or Salome. And I'm going to show some of those illustrations here too. Now, in the theater, this was a very shocking thing to see, this style of art. Aubrey Beardsley, you might not know it just from looking at this stuff I've shown you previously, or in the last few minutes, but he was always kind of pushing the boundaries. He was doing new stuff with art. He was creating shocking imagery and putting it in the theater and on playbills, and a lot of people had issues with it. He was satirizing popular culture. He was playing with societal and gender norms and putting those on the paper. A lot of people found him controversial for his time, and even in this book now, there's lots of things I will not show because they can be seen as controversial. So he was really kind of edgy, controversial guy for his time. Even in 1966, a guy put up a big gallery show of Aubrey Beardsley's work and was arrested on obscenity charges. So what this guy was doing in the late 1800s still found controversy and relevancy in the 60s and even till today. But he's a really revolutionary artist, kind of created, in my opinion, a very new kind of original style for illustration at the time. He dealt with tuberculosis his whole life until his death in 1898, and he actually converted to Catholicism and right before his death. And I kind of want to end it here. So he's famously quoted as saying, "I have one aim, the grotesque. If I am not a grotesque, I am nothing." And on his deathbed, this letter penned, it says March 7th, 1898. He wrote this: Jesus is our Lord and Judge. Dear friend, I implore you to destroy all the copies of Lystrata and bad drawings, by all that is holy, all obscene drawings. I, Aubrey Beardsley, in my death agony. So it looks like at the end of his life, he converted to Catholicism, and then, according to this note, regrets a lot of his art potentially. His friend never destroyed anything of his work. He never burnt it. He continued printing it, and that's why we still have it today. So Aubrey Beardsley, really interesting guy, only lived 25 years. We're looking at his art still today. He's influenced a lot of amazing people. He's satirized popular culture, and you can still see influences of art in many people: Frank Miller, Amano, and Magnola, among many others. Anyways, it's probably a little longer than 5 minutes, but some little art history for the channel here. Let me know if you've heard of this guy, or let me know what you think of his work.